Hello everyone and welcome to Making Gold on Guild Wars 2. I'm back today with kind of a question and answer type video. I've gotten quite a few messages over the last couple weeks that I have not been able to respond to, both by private messaging me as well as in comments. I'd like to address a couple of them that I've heard either multiple times or were just plain good questions that I'd like to answer a little bit more publicly. First question from Assel1997. He asked me, are you really using the margin of exotic level 80s? Yes, I am. Unfortunately, when you're looking for a specific markets come and go very, very quickly. That's part of the reason why I'm not advising you to use a specific market. The market for exotic level 80s, when I was using those recordings, when I made those recordings, was very good. When I actually published those videos, the market wasn't as good anymore. And I typically stagger when I record my background if it's not intrinsically linked with what I'm saying. I record it and leave that on my computer for a couple weeks before I make a video, just so there isn't that delay, so I don't ruin my own market while giving you guys a video. Second question from Kieran Bellis. And this was actually asked by a couple of different people. What editing and recording software do you use for your videos? I just use Fraps. It's easy, it's cheap. I think it's $30, $35. Got it a while ago. Works great. Does everything I need it to. And for editing, I've used a couple of different free things. Right now, I think I'm using Windows Media Editor, Movie Maker. There we go, Windows Movie Maker. It's cheap, or it's free, and it does everything I need it to. Nothing more than that. And then a second question from Kieran Bellis is also, what do I use, a laptop or a computer? I use a computer. It's a computer I built myself. I quite enjoy that. That's one thing I've been doing for quite some time, building computers, that is, and I enjoy playing games on them, of course. Question from Janice Zarens. Number 1, have you ever tried making a regression analysis on the material prices or having any other principles how to decide on investing in materials? I had to read this question a couple of times, and I think I understand what's being asked. First off, to define a regression analysis. A regression analysis is looking at all the variables which contribute to some sort of outcome and figuring out what exact effect each variable has. So the price of any item on the trading post has a lot of different variables. I talk a lot about supply and demand. Well, not every kind of supply is equal. Unidentified dies. One big update on the update on the 28th. One of the big changes is now unidentified dies. You don't just get them from random drops. You can now get them by turning in your laurels. So the question is, what effect does the laurels turned in for unidentified dies have on the market? That's a good question. There are a lot of products out there that have quite a few sources, and unfortunately it's almost impossible to identify or isolate any given variable to be able to do a decent regression analysis on it. So my answer is no, I haven't. Mostly when I look to invest in a particular market or item more than just flipping an item, I will check the Guild Wars 2 wiki, check Google, check a bunch of different sites, see if I can get a good sense of not only what the supply is, but how many people use that particular supply, so I know what's going to happen when I try to manipulate it or invest in it. It sometimes works out that I think I have a really good item, but then all of a sudden I realize that the supply is 10 times greater than what I thought it was. So no thanks. I'm not going to play with that market. Second question from Janice Zarens. You had a video about buying masterwork cheap and selling high. Here also I was wondering how you determine the true value of an item to invest in, because sometimes there's a really big gap in bid and asking price, but the liquidity is so low that you're just stuck with it. Absolutely. Very good question. Here it's just a comparison in the market. There's a lot of different weapons, be they rare, masterwork, or exotic weapons out in the market. And let's take a look at, let's think like pistols. How many pistols are there out there? If I look up any given masterwork pistol and there's 100 buy orders out there, but then I look at the next one, there's only 10 or 15, I know that the one with only 10 or 15 is not very liquid. But if I look at all the pistols and all the pistols only have 10 to 15, then I'd be more willing to invest in any particular one, because it it's the idea that the market decides, the general populace decides what they want, and if most people are shying away from any particular item, it's probably pretty illiquid, and you can't you don't want to invest in an item that's going to take you forever to flip. Absolutely. Your question is spot on. How do you determine? Unfortunately, it's very fuzzy. It's just looking at the market, kind of guesstimating, okay, there's a lot of this item on the market, there's very few of this item on the market. What alternate items are there that are close to this item on the market? That sort of thing. Third question from Janice. Have you had any luck with market supply manipulations, or have you thought about any other currently profitable strategies? So far, I haven't found anything that would give me a good return on investment from 150 gold. You're right, at 150 gold, you are very much in the in-between stage between flipping single items for profit, investing in in high volume of low margin items, and the big time, which is market manipulation. At 150, you really don't want to embark in market manipulation just yet. You really want to hold off. I'd say don't really look into it until you're approaching 500 to 1,000 gold. That's the point when you really start having enough muscle to really move things around. Finally, a question from Josha Alish. I apologize if I butcher any of you guys' names. He says, I went through Guild Wars 2 Spidey.com to find something that is worth investing in, but most of the time it didn't work as is suspected. He gives an example. He says, Mithril Sword Blades. The estimated profit was quite high, but nobody bought it, so I couldn't hold that price. I also tried with small profit by high quantity items, such as copper, but for this he doesn't have enough gold to make it worth the investment. Yeah, it's hard finding this good balance. One of the reasons why I talk about Omnom berries is it really has a good balance. You don't find Omnom berries everywhere, such as copper ore or any of the ores or any of the directly gathered materials like that. But you also don't get into such a specialized market such as the Mithril Sword Blades that nobody wants it, or as soon as you try to manipulate the Mithril Sword Blades, people immediately just buy Mithril ore and make their own. You really have to strike the balance. Find things which have enough quantity on the market to move, and items that don't have so much that you're overwhelmed with it. I doubt that anybody has enough muscle to move the copper ore market. Actually, there's probably one guy I know, but he wouldn't. Or he might not, I guess is a good way to say it. I don't think anybody really has that kind of muscle, or anybody really would find that kind of muscle worth it. Because once you try to move a market like copper ore, well, everybody goes out and mines copper ore. All the lobies out there just suddenly start making bank. So, it's a good question. It's hard to find that balance. That's why market manipulation is done so rarely and only by a few people profitably, because it takes quite a bit of luck and skill in identifying exactly which market to manipulate. And now I have a couple questions of my own. Number one, where am I? I'd like to see who can figure out exactly where my character is at this moment, and either respond to the comments or send me a message, and I'll give you a shout out in the next video, just for fun. And the second question is, what other questions do you have for me? And I will post them. If they aren't about any specific item or specific market, I will post a response in upcoming videos. Do watch and stay tuned, as I have a couple more videos coming out soon.